So we put in industry standard numbers, which I think we can probably do a little better at. But one of the things in the next part of this process is to test those out and to work with contractors to ensure that what we're looking at in terms of numbers actually work. And this is an ongoing document that is a living document, but gives us the roadmap for how we might move forward as we get into it, understanding in greater detail and with greater assurance as to what it's going to cost us. And obviously these are today's values that we're talking about. So generally speaking, I was using $400 a square foot for the cost of new construction. The cost of remodeling within the tenant improvements that we talked about is a region of about $125 a square foot. So when we put together the pool, the bathrooms that have to occur with the pool, fencing, showers, storage, all of that kind of stuff, we're looking at about $300,000. We actually got a price of $170,000 for the pool itself. So that leaves us $130,000 for the bathrooms, doing the decks, the fencing, the walkways, the stairs, the things of that nature that we need to do. We've also gotten prices for a year-round enclosure, so that in the summer the enclosure would be retracted, in the winter it could be used year-round, and the numbers that we've received on that was $100,000. So we've actually tested that one out. Obviously the specific design hasn't happened yet, but we know it's of that order of cost. And then one of the things that we were thinking of is, while we've got this facility, really starting to pull this together with the condo room deck and the lighting and the railings and stairs, and we had $120,000 on that. We actually might be a little high. There's a local contractor, some of you know him, Pat Kearney, came up with a number closer to $80,000. Now I'm not going to bet on that one. I'm going to stay with $120,000. So the whole pool complex, including the extension deck, including the pool and everything else, is of the order of $520,000 cost of construction. So now we have to repair and remediate where the old pool was. So that's going to be of the order of about $60,000, because you've got to take out the concrete, especially if it's going to be used for a new building. You've got to have the ground underneath it has to be in good shape. We've looked at about 65, and then installing the mobile units, not renting them, installing them is of the order of $25,000. So so as we move through to the kitchen, as we do a new kitchen with the ADA and the entry, we're looking at somewhere in the region of about $850,000, because while we have around 1,500 square feet for the kitchen, which we indicated as being 1,000 square feet as shown here, and 500 square feet for the entry.
What was the number for the kitchen?
I'll explain it a little bit more. The shell, if you like, the building, the structure, with the basic bathrooms and the floor finishes and all of that, we're looking at about $600,000, and then all the kitchen equipment on top of that, we put in a budget number of $250,000. So that gives us $850,000 for this complex right here, ground up, new. So the lower floor, we're talking about remodeling here. This might be a little bit higher number, we don't know yet, but there's about a little over 3,000 square feet. So that $125 a square foot that I talked about leaves you just shy of $400,000. It's $387,500 is the number that we have on that. And we also applied that number to the upper floor, and that would accommodate changing out the windows, opening up the space, refinishing the finishes, putting in mobile wall that we have at the moment so we can separate this space. But basically redoing this whole area was a similar figure. Now, is it going to be exactly that number? I don't know. It could be less, It could be more. It depends on what we collectively determine we really want to do and what we want to pay for. But it's certainly a number sufficient to do something significant with. We know that there'll be some site upgrades. We're going to have to do some paving and things of that nature. At the moment, we don't have a number for that. So with all of that, and doing the architecture and engineering and giving ourselves a contingency of 10%, we came in at under $3 million, 2.82 million. Okay, that is with the mobiles. If we don't go for the mobiles, if we build out this building, we're actually going to have to rebuild this at the same time. So this becomes a little over 4,000 square feet. That almost doubles the cost. So instead of coming in at 3.85, 2.8, yes, big difference. Instead of coming in at 2.82 million, we would come in at 4.9 million. But that would give us a very, good, complete complex with, because always with the mobiles, you've got to choose.
I'm having a hard time hearing you back here.
Come forward. Come forward.
Another microphone.
Microphone, walk around. You can just
Stay behind it. Go from there.
Okay, so which part of that, can you hear this? Is this any better? Okay.
Can you repeat the last what you explained about the last part?
The last part about the administration building?
Yeah, how it doubles.
It doubles the price because you end up with having to build out 4,200 square feet, 4,200 square feet, which is just as a base price 1.68 million, but by the time you put the contingency and fees and all of the other kinds of things on top of it, it adds very close to 2 million. So the 2.82 million, that was the cost if we have mobile administration building, in mobile, and we left the, and it's assuming that we could leave the pro shop alone, then we would end up, with 2.82 if we got the mobiles, and it would be closer to 4.9. So I think, hold on. I think at this point I'm going to turn it over to you and the board, and they can determine how we want to answer questions.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to thank Rick and all of you. Just to set the stage, we obviously aren't going to make decisions today, and I would hope that the task force would be willing to have a couple of meetings with the board, kind of around the table, and really work through. The board received the plan today. So I would think we need a week or two to review this, maybe prepare some clarifying questions for you before we have another public session, open to the community, obviously, to go through the details. But before we do that, recognizing that we've just gotten it, we can't ask definitive questions. Let me see if the board has specifics for you at this time. Brian?
Yeah, just a couple of questions.
Microphone. There are seats up here for those of you in the back that are having trouble.
A couple quick questions. Thank you for first of all, thank you for the presentation. It was a very good presentation. If we decide not to build a new administration building, what would the use of that grounds and do build pools? What would be the use of the ground for the current pools? Well, what's your proposal?
That can be determined, but obviously we've taken away some parking, and so that parking could be replenished by that area. It could also be used for temporary, you often get organizations where they'll put up tents for events like weddings or other kinds of festivities. It might become an open area of that nature. On my part, I think it should be a croquet court.
Couldn't you put the modules in there?
You could put the modules there, absolutely.
You have another question?
I think the only other question is on this enclosure that you have for the pool, how do you envision that, and how do you envision this open protecting the swimmers from errant golf balls?
Well, we would, I mean, one of the things that would be tremendously important is to have the appropriate fence around the pool in the first place. Certainly, the lower wall portions of this. The idea is that it be retractable. So the specifics of this, I don't know if you want to get into this at all, Doug?
Well,
It's
let me
a
get,
rib
let me
cage.
come on. We have got,
Microphone.
this is Gordon. My voice carries too, look out. Okay, we have looked at several ideas and concepts on this. It is not that, one that they quoted at $98,000 is one concept of it. There are other concepts of it that we have to sit and look through. There are pages and pages of these things out there. We have to find the one that fits our need the best. Whether it, how it retracts or whether it rolls up or whatever, anything like that. We have to get through that first. This is just a concept, a vision.
But it is the task force opinion that a year-round pool is the preferable decision.
Yes, that was what we gathered from our survey. Yes.
One last question. Would you heat that with propane, would you heat that with solar, or how would you try to keep the cost of heating the pool down, keep the heat all?
Well, we haven't explored solar fully at this point. We really haven't found anywhere to put enough solar panels to do a comfortable job of it. We either have to fill the yard out there with solar panels. So right now it's still under the propane, but a shallower pool is going to take less to heat. This is 8 feet out here. We're talking 4.5, 5 feet maximum depth with 3 foot depth on either end. This is a standard for pools right now. They have them at certain depths, and it's just kind of a standard at that point. Also, too, if you have, during the wintertime, if you have a cover over it, you're losing less heat.
Sandy, you have a question?
I have two questions.
On the lower deck, on the drawing that you provided, I don't see any access or egress to the rooms themselves.
You mean the new meeting
No,
rooms?
that's,
Yes, they're all walled off.
How do you get there?
this becomes a working drawing at that point. This is what we need to do.
This is only a diagram, it's not a design. So the purpose of it was to say, if we have a block that's 300 square feet, and we have 4 of those blocks, can we fit them just physically within that space? So access, doorways, organization, it may get flipped completely. I don't exactly know where the bathrooms are going to be. It's just that we know that there's enough square footage to achieve what we're looking for. And all of those issues of connections and so on will come into this. This is not even conceptual design. This is just basic.
No,
Allocation.
let me ask a question while you're still there, because this is, I think, the critical next step. You will be asking the board to fund the next step from our architectural point of view. The question for the board, and if you take a few minutes, I'd appreciate it. What is the end result of that? For instance, does the next step produce biddable drawings? Does it produce just a concept? What do we get for step 2?
Okay, so what and we've submitted to you for basically master planning and concept design. So at the end of that, you would have some renderings, you know what the place looked like, what there is a vision of what the place could look like. You would know where your doors are, you'd know the size of your bathrooms, but it's still conceptual design. It is not even schematic design. The architectural process usually involves 20% of the work that the architect does is related to schematic design, then we refine the schematic design, then we do construction documents, and that's the point at which you take it for a building permit, and a contractor can give you a final fixed number bid based on those drawings. So we're way back from that, but it is the early part of the process.
I understand. So my question is, $50,000 roughly is what we're talking about. Get me from that expense to a biddable drawing, from a cost point of view.
Sure, so I think.
What am I spending?
What, we had that, and it's part of the report. We basically said that it's about 15% of the cost of construction.
All right,
So in other words, what we're looking at is if we're at 3 million, we're looking at whatever that number works out to.
At 15%.
Yeah, at 15%. And this would be part of that process.
All right, would you do that by phase, or would you do the whole thing from a design point of view first?
We would probably do it by phase, so that, you know, the pool, for instance.
It'll be
would probably-
50% of whatever phase you
Yes,
do.
correct.
Can I finish my question? Thank you. With respect to the upper deck, you have talked about extending the deck that overlooks the golf course all the way across the back of this building. It doesn't show that on this? Is it still your intent?
Connecting the two?
I thought you were going to extend this.
Yeah, that's correct. We modified it after we finished the report. So,
Okay,
it was
so-
always intended to be there. The
Okay.
question is, on their report, this deck extension, hold on, let me turn it around so you can see it.
Well, now they can't see it.
I'm talking about this piece here. So Sandy, it was.
You're drawing
This,
this.
this
Okay.
piece
Oh, that.
here would connect it to the existing decking, and it would be a continuation, so this becomes completely wrapped with deck. So
Is
what
there
we're
an
talking
outside-
about,
That's not a scale drawing.
Is
It's
there an
not-
outside stairway to that deck?
there would be, yes.
Yes.
Do you have anything else? Other board members? Bill?
Just one question regarding the convo room. If this was going to be the convo room and dining, where would people be eating right now?
Correct. They would be eating right here, right now.
Right in front of the meeting?
Well, no, if we had the meeting going on,
Right.
but
They-
we
they-
still
they
serve
wouldn't be able-
food.
You wouldn't be able to, so it is a dual use. So the question is, when an event such as a board meeting such as this would occur, would this still be set up as a restaurant? And obviously, both things can't happen at the same time, so the one would displace the other. So part of what you might be looking at is changing hours at which you do things. Maybe it's between 2 and 4, or maybe it starts at, 8 o'clock in the morning and is done by 11 or something. I'm not sure. That is some operational stuff that we will need to look into as we get into the details of what we do. Maybe there would only be, for instance, the bar area would, there may be just a light line going on at such times. But that's again, something that operations of the administration will need to work out.
But when you say condo room, you are talking about the space from the folding wall this way.
Correct.
You're not including the whole bar area.
No, correct.
There's a possibility that with the 4 rooms downstairs,
Microphone.
there is a possibility with the 4 rooms, the 4 meeting rooms downstairs, that could be where the board meetings could be, depending on the size. But this is about 4 or 5 times larger board meeting than normal. Typically, it only takes up about from that post up to about here. But it's possible if we could use it downstairs, those meeting rooms, especially if we have folding walls or expandable walls. So we could use that for the board, and this area would be used for strictly dining. So that is a possibility, depending on how we configure it downstairs.
Thank you. Any other board questions?
And then just on the cost estimates, how do we look at any potential improvements for electrical and plumbing of existing?
That's embedded in that, in the square footage. And it's one of the things that as we go forward into the concept design, we'll have the mechanical, electrical, plumbing engineers look at the specifics of that and help us out in terms of tightening up the costs so that we have a better understanding.
Well-
In other words, is there enough power in the building at all? Do we need to change it? We don't know that. We don't know the answer to that
But
yet.
you did
And that's part
suggest-
of what we'd be looking at.
You did suggest that, like plumbing and electrical, you don't want to do twice. So at what phase in the project would you make the electrical and the plumbing change?
That would occur at the time that the new kitchen entry would put
So
up.
basically phase 2 and a
Yeah,
half,
basically,
3.
that phase two, after the pool's gone in, and the administration is removed there.
Wait just a minute. Yes. Go ahead. You had a- Go ahead. Any other board questions? All right, member questions. Tom, you had your hand up. This is going to be a little difficult. Try and come to the microphone. And if you have a question, let's line up back over here behind your group so you can come this way. You're in the right spot. It's all right, just take it away.
Yes, sir. If you all had been coming to these various presentations, I've always been very pleased by them. And you can all agree that the presentations were wonderful. I would like to see more detail in terms of the consequences of either doing something or not doing something. What are the consequences if we don't do X, Y, and Z? And how long could we wait before the consequences become significant? But what I heard today was a lot of good things, but it sort of varies in various attributes. Necessary, not necessary, preferable, oh, what a nice thing we could have. How much of it is to satisfy our feeling that we're in a very nice country club, or how much of it is useful? I think that's missing, and I know you guys will do it because you've always delivered. It's just those kinds of things in which we should decide whether it's a big project or a sequential project. And that's all I have to say. At this point, I really don't have enough information from what you said to take a position on this proposal.
Thank you, Tom.
And that's understood, because that's where everything's refined. We need to go at least one step deeper, and I think doing a cost-benefit analysis in terms of some of the options would definitely be on the table in terms of the way we looked at it.
You're going to have to kind of move your cord because they're coming through behind you. You're all right.
Virgil Panorino, 3507424. I thank the task force for some of their input. It seems like a lot of efficiencies were included, a lot of things that made sense, like the phase program. I do have two questions I would like to request. Is when we talk about the administration building, the size of this, I understand it's cramped. Would it be possible, maybe after the meeting, that someone could show us that room so we can understand the space relationship and how crowded it
Want a
really is?
little tour of the,
Yeah,
Darren, can we do something?
because I understand it's really small.
Well, when the board ends, we'll try to do a little open house.
Okay, and then the other thing, the most important question is, can Brent have J-Lo here at the open
Maybe we can get her to make a donation. Sean, are you in line there?
Well, it's not mine, thanks.
Tom, is that your phone?
Yes, I don't know why you're trying to take.
I don't know.
It's called eminent domain.
Would you like me to reread my membership number?
No, we got you.
Great, everybody seems to know. Lucky. Couple things. First thing is that I'd like to know, when you talk about a temporary administration building that we're going to be renting, correct?
Correct.
What's the cost of this rental and for how long?
The rental is for as long as we need it. They will take care of all maintenance for as long as we need it. The rental is $1,600 a month.
$1,600 a month?
15 and change.
Okay.
I'll call it 16.
So approximately $1,600 a month, and if we don't build this expansion of the administration office that you're asking about, that's $1,600 a month times 20, 30 years?
Eternity, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So that went out to a few $1 million.
A lot last up.
Can we still rent, can you buy
We
one?
can buy a temporary structure.
You can buy one.
I believe we can purchase it. You give a figure for that.
I don't have a figure for that, but they can be purchased at the end at this point too, which is, as I stated in my talk, is probably cheaper than buying or building a brand new place.
The next thing I have is that you discussed the possibility of destroying the existing pool and building one that might be able to have a removable structure.
Right.
Have we looked into maybe doing a smaller lap pool that is completely enclosed and leaving an external pool there for the members?
In a way we have, but you now have two pools.
Yeah.
You have double the equipment at that point.
Well, no, you're talking about a small lap pool.
Well, the lap pool should be 25 yards long minimum.
Right.
This pool here is 20 yards long, so it's longer than that pool.
Okay.
Okay, that's a standard pool. That's why we were talking to some of these clubs. Everything is 25 yards. They don't, they have, that's the standard on it, it's 25 yards. To go into that, I'm not sure where we would put it. Now, do you want it covered too for winter?
Okay.
This creates, you're talking about another pool of a couple $100,000.
As well as putting
And-
in
and-
solar on top of the roof, that way it doesn't move.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So we
So
could
now-
save,
One, I won't get into that solar, okay.
Okay,
Stick
all
with
right,
pool.
that's fine. Okay.
John, did you have another question?
I do. In regards to the post office, you're talking about moving the post office from the business district over to here, instead of maybe purchasing that building and utilizing that for a administration as well? Is that a possibility?
Okay, Mason, I worked this out. Let me collect my thought here.
That's okay.
The administration building is, as I stated, too small, cramped, it's falling apart at this point. If we move the administration building to the village, now people have to come here, they have to go there, they have to go somewhere else, they have to go somewhere else to find things. We have enough problems now with finding records because they're all over the place. They're stored here, they're stored over the maintenance place, they're stored at other places. I want to try to get everything all together so things are convenient and easy to use.
So, I'm sorry, but I don't understand I apologize,
No,
maybe
no
it's
problem.
me.
No, this is-
What I'm
this is
trying
a lot.
Yeah, what I'm trying to ask though is that if you have the main administration and the post office, everything in the business area in one central location, this would be used for families and community to enjoy themselves.
Correct.
That would be business, this would be pleasure. So I'm just trying to figure out why that would be.
So I think one of the answers to that may actually come from Karen. Let me just set it up here. I think one of the things is that people do multiple activities. Not only that, but staff do multiple activities. So Karen, can you answer that?
Yeah, if we were to go over into the commercial center, it's gonna put our staff, we're gonna have to keep coming over here because we have personnel over here. We have HR that has to deal with personnel, myself. Maintenance, it's best if we're all in one place. You're gonna be making us do a lot of trips, back
Well-
and forth on a daily basis.
It's an idea that's been suggested and will have started. Vernon, are you in line there?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I just, I have a request, and my understanding
You need to
is
identify
correct.
yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Ronan Murphy, and since someone else is doing that, I'm going to put on my glasses.
All right.
For the numbers, if my understanding is correct, one of the huge differences is going to be using mobile structures versus building a new building for the administration. I'd like to put in a request that whoever the powers that be, consult with our staff here and give us a detailed set of recommendations about how one would affect efficiency, staff experience, long-term costs, et cetera. So I don't think any of us on this board, on the board or the members can support one decision or the other without having a real idea how that decision will impact our staff and their experience and efficiencies. So I'd like to request that you make
Right,
that happen.
I agree, and to say nothing to the configuration of that
Yes.
mobile space, those are all to be determined.
And I think the other aspect of that is mobiles are always mobiles. You can get permanent mobiles so that they're not mobile anymore, and they become basically constructed off-site and brought to the site. But nevertheless, there's a difference in quality and nature of it. And I think that's one of the things that we're going to need to look into and do that as part of the cost-benefit analysis that we're going to need to do.
I think too, also because of the phasing, that the community support and response, of phase 2 will be affected by the success of phase 1. And the point is, we need to prove it can be done and done well, and then the support for the next phase will be positive rather than, but we will have support to the extent we have delivered on what we are proposing to do.
Proof of the pudding.
We have some more people back here. Go ahead.
Good morning, my name is Russell Rogers. I got a question for a few people. I'm just wondering what was penciled in the guesstimate for the kitchen cost?
What did you hear? Well, we take those numbers, you gave us some numbers.
So there's $400 a square foot for the structure, which would include finishes, and then $250,000 for the equipment itself.
And the square footage was,
I think
$1,000?
something of that order. You can see the numbers here. So in the kitchen, $600,000 for the shell with the entry, $250,000. So it ends up at $850,000, including the entry.
Okay. Carol?
I did some quick math, and 4.9 million, I just upped it to 5. I figured 2,700 feet lots, because some pay, some don't pay for whatever reason. And I came up with $1,851 per lot. That's not unreasonable at all. And that'd be a one-time. If somebody wants to finance it, knock yourself out. I pay cash.
Kent Bernadinian, lot 350732500. I need a little help with the numbers.
And you need to talk into the mic.
Thank you so much. Thanks. If we're spending at the post office, was it 1,500? 18?
1,800.
And then the cost of the mobiles is 15?
Yes.
Just doing that, thank you.
Well, I think before we leave that issue, remember,
Yeah.
it's not just renting the buildings, you're renting all those boxes, and those are owned not by us, but by others. So the issue of the post office is a little more complex than just the square footage.
I understand it's just, thank you so much. I understand that it is the footage, but then it's also the requirements by the federal government for us.
Well, that too,
But that it is here locally closer, so that when somebody treks through the snow, or we're in an emergency mode, we're actually having more, how do you say, utility power for our individual members and for the community.